Hey everyone, I'm Greg with Spotted Tongue Woodworking. This is my shop, and today we're going to build a Murphy bed. Specifically, we're building this Murphy bed. Queen size from Fixa Tools, bought it off of Amazon. I've had the kit for a year because I was supposed to build this Murphy bed last year, and I am up against the gun. We have baby 3 coming in a couple weeks, and we need a guest room. The first step is going to be to figure out my cuts. Like I said, I had started building this Murphy bed last year, and I didn't use the kit last year. I bought the parts after I started building the frame, and I had winged it. Luckily, and it works out for me, the rough frame that I had built for the Murphy bed ends up being the correct height and width, so I can build the innards, drill all the holes, put all the hardware on, and it should work. First thing I'm going to want to do is, out of my stack of plywood, get my 3/4 inch maple plywood out of here that I am going to be using to build this Murphy bed. This is a big space for me. It's a great shop. But just like with every space, doesn't matter where you are, there are limitations. With this involving so many pieces of sheet goods with a quite somewhat not complicated, but a cut list that I'm not very familiar with, and the fact that I have already cut out some pieces that not according to their cut list, I am left with having bought 2 pieces and 1 partial piece of 3/4 inch plywood. And the key to this project is going to be making sure that I have my cuts laid out in a way that maximizes my yield and ensures that I have enough material. So let's get to it. So I messed up. When I put this together, I thought these legs went on the outside of the piece. Turns out they go on the inside, and this show face shouldn't have had the legs on the outside. So this show face is wrong. This is supposed to be on the outside, which I thought, but the legs are supposed to be in here. So what I'm going to have to do is, thankfully this is being painted, so I'm going to flip this over, re-drill the new hole, because not only was it on the wrong face, it was also on the wrong orientation. Or maybe it was only on the wrong orientation on the other board. The orientation was right on this board, because I want to be 2 3/8 from the top to leave plenty of space in the bottom for the leg to swing up and over this bottom cross piece. So this one, what I'm going to have to do is flip it around and just drill it from the other side, which is both a blessing and a curse, because there's still going to be this big hole that I'm going to have to patch. At least I know my measurements were right. They went right through. That the leg should be in here on the inside like this. The cross piece will go right bottom there, and it'll sit just like that. And then obviously, along with the orientation of the legs being wrong, means that the orientation of this hardware, thankfully, this was just on the wrong side of everything. So that's an easy switch around to flip this to this side and flip this down to that side. So as you can see, I have already begun assembling the frame of the bed. I have the other side done. I had swapped that around off camera. And so what is going to happen, I'm going to set these in place, and we'll clamp everything together and get it to work. Super handy is a right angle clamp. This Craig right angle clamp has been really an incredible purchase. It just because of the functionality and the versatility that it provides. The key to keeping everything square is to make sure the pieces are up high enough. So we will put a spacer under that so we can bring this up and keep the edges square. These will just be screwed together. And what we'll do is after we clamp this square, we will pre-drill, countersink all the holes, and then drive the screws through. It just gives a cleaner appearance. It helps the plywood to keep from splitting. Theoretically, if I were to use like a nicer screw, like a GRK screw, they are supposed to be a, you don't need to pre-drill for those screws. I am just using the screws that came with this kit, so I don't quite have that luxury. We'll just screw and counter screw and all sorts of fun stuff. So there you have it, one upside down bed frame. And this brings me to the part where I said earlier, it was not listed in the instructions that there are going to be cross braces that come along here. They're not in the plan, so I did not pre-cut them. So I'm going to have to go ahead, cut them to length. They're going to be a little T cross beam thing to provide the extra little bit of support. And we will glue and nail those together, and then we will screw them across here. So these cross braces, as far as I can tell, I pre-cut my lengths, I ripped my widths. All the pieces are going to be 1.5 inches. And this is going to get assembled like this. From what I can tell in the diagrams, again, I looked through the instructions, there are no measurements. This is what made sense with what I had on hand, and I think what makes sense with also trying to fit the mattress inside that box spring. So what we're going to do, we're going to glue along this edge, and then we will just nail these pieces together. When I assemble it, I will countersink and screw through the ends because I will have to take this apart in order to bring this over to my house and install it in the office. So I'll just do one, show you how these are all going to go together. Glue bot, this is a great thing. So I'll just do a little bit of glue along that edge. The only thing I don't like about the glue bots is the tips can get a little clogged. So they can get really clogged if you don't keep up on it. With a little bit of glue in there. Kids, don't do this at home. Don't eat the glue. So I tell my 2-year-old, my 3-year-old, and my 1.5-year-old, don't eat the glue. So we'll just glue these, do that together. Again, because it's not just the glue that will be holding this joint together. So we will go ahead and we will bring these pieces together. Nice and snug, nice and tight. Make sure the ends line up. And then again, Ryobi crap. There we go. And so the idea of doing a T-piece like this, it's a lot like an I-beam, that having that support going across both ways make these pieces a lot stronger than if you were simply doing slats across. This will provide a little more rigidity and a little more resistance to twisting and to sagging. So they're just together. The nails will hold the glue while it sets, and we'll do a bunch of these all together, and that hopefully they didn't give the exact dimensions of these crosspiece pieces. They at least gave me spacing, and it actually should be simple math. These ports are 80 inches long. I have 2 on each end. I'll have 3 in the middle, so I'll have 4 sections, so 20, 20, 20, 20. These will be screwed into here, 20 inches on center. So I can just go ahead, make my mark at 20, 40, and 60, and I know that I will need to set whatever the center of this is, center that right there, and that'll put these right in the middle of where they need to be. So that'll work out. So then I'll need to countersink everything. So that make sure everything lines up. Is I will pre-mark these together And then I know that on the ends, half of 3/4 is 3/8, so I want to stay 3/8 or so off of the ends in order to countersink for the end cross pieces. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll go ahead and we'll do that. So, just countersink bit, and we'll just drill. All right, so here we are. The inner assembly is assembled. The frame is assembled. You now need to attach the frame to the assembly. And I'm really hoping I didn't mess this up. We will find out momentarily if I'm lucky or unlucky. You feeling lucky, kid? Oh, I'm feeling lucky. I am feeling lucky. And so it's a nice, tight, snug fit. I can't be unhappy with that. With these, I can't be unhappy with that. Like I said, better be looking at it than looking for it. Yep, so there's that little bit. There's that right there. Like I said, it's a nice, tight, snug fit. We'll have to persuade it into place. All right, so sometimes I have to admit when I'm wrong. Actually, I often have to admit when I'm wrong. Not sometimes, often. I often have to admit when I'm wrong because I'm wrong more often than I would like to admit. And it turns out there were measurements for these cross pieces. They were just listed under the total assembly. Like I said, I start to freak out whenever I see instructions, partly because I don't know what the person writing the instructions was thinking. Now I know this was there. It's still no cut list pieces, but it's there. The measurements were there, but it's not a problem. I just had to fill the gap. So here it is. This inner framework is now attached to the bed frame. And from my understanding, that's it. We're going to go start working on the upright, on the actual cabinet part of this Murphy bed. I had previously made the cabinet and I was pretty much almost exactly. I was within like an 1/8 or a 1/16 of the measurements. So I'm not too worried about it. The biggest thing is going to be the placement, making sure I place the hardware parts in the right spot. We'll put this all together. We'll assemble it. I probably won't be able to put the springs on because I have nowhere to mount the Murphy bed to the wall, but we can put everything in place, make sure everything works together, and then I'll have to take this all apart, finish it, and then bring it home and install it in the office. Again, we have the board. With the difference in the width and there's also a difference in the height, and we'll get to that. So what it is, I'm going to pull all my measurements from this back. This will just be almost a 1/2 inch in, but as long as away from the wall and in relation to each other, everything will work out. So we'll pull that. I already pre-marked this 4 3/4 by 11 3/4. That will be, I'll drill a hole. That will get the pivot. Here for the piston will be 13 1/4 by 33 1/16, and then all the way up here at the top, we'll get the stop to keep the bed from slamming into the wall, and that will be 7 1/4. And I had to do a little bit of math because my total height is 86. I'm supposed to be 87 1/8, which is really just for the way they constructed their header, which I will need to figure out another solution for that. So I will just have to, so 87 1/8 minus 6 is 81 1/8. So we'll go 81 1/8, and that'll be right there. So that's not an issue. That'll be all right. And I will do the matching measurements on the other panel, on the right side panel, and then I will drill my blind holes. All right, so drilling these blind holes, I think one of the best things, one of the best investments you can get are Forstner bits. This isn't my Forstner bit set. This belongs to the shop because this is my shop, but it's also not my shop at the same time. I am renting this space. This is I think this is a Harbor Freight set, so it's not the best, but it gets the job done. And with these, because the Forstner bit, what it does is it gives a clean, flat-bottomed hole that is fantastic for whenever you need to drill something, but you don't want to drill all the way entirely through. So let me grab hardware pieces. Excuse the heater, because it is, it's starting to get a little cold outside. I do have to drill a little bit further down. Again, we're not going to drill all the way through. It's close. It's going to be really close. So we are just about there. So a little bit more. Now we're basically just going to leave the veneer on there more than anything. So that will go oriented like that. This next one, we want to drill a 3/4 inch hole, because that will get the back side of that. I don't know why it needs to be 3/4. I'd rather it be a little more secure. So we will actually just do a 5/8 and hope that I didn't just make a big mistake. Again, doesn't need to be a big hole, because the key with this is these holes also do help keep everything secure. Yeah, 5/8 was even too big. And that's all right. I'm glad I didn't do 3/4. So that will go like that. We will pre-drill that. We will screw those into place. And then the top, that'll just be a simple pre-drill to screw these little stops, basically floor stops, right into the side there. The self-centering bit is this whole thing fits inside that hole. And then when it comes out, just that little itty bitty drill bit comes out. And we'll go there, right there. It's right in the center. It's not going anywhere. Hole. 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 Right exactly where I want them to be centered. It is not going to go anywhere. We can do that again over on this side. Hole. 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 And that's it. That's the self-centering drill bit. Again, super handy doing hardware, doing little finicky things like this, just that you need to pre-drill, but you also want that pre-drilled hole to be centered exactly where you want it to be. And then with that, it just makes it a lot easier to just right exactly where I want them to be. No splitting, no cracking. And we'll just snug these guys up right up into here. And that's exactly what we want to see, exactly what we want to happen. Should I be using an impact? No. A little Milwaukee electric screwdriver probably be a little bit better, and it might be what I end up using after I take this apart and assemble it in place, because now that everything has been screwed and threaded and all that, because the absolute last thing I ever want to do is to strip something out and have to repair that. So slow and steady wins the race. So hardware matches up. We'll put this box assembly together. We'll stick the box spring, the whole mattress assembly in there. Make sure everything works together. And that's basically it. And we'll be ready for finish. So here we are. We're going to put this baby together. And yeah, we're going to put this baby together. And we're going to see how it goes. We may or may not get lucky. You don't ever want to count on having to get lucky, but sometimes that's the situation you end up in. Speaking of getting lucky, I did in fact not get lucky. And it actually wasn't from the upper cabinet. It was from the bed itself, because I had cut everything to 64 3/8. The bed frame, the original cross pieces of the bed frame needed to be 62 inches. And if they had been 62, that means this framework also would have been 2 3/8 inches shorter as well, which it's not. So I'm going to have to disassemble this whole frame, all the framework, cut the pieces off, put it back together, smaller. That's what I get for not double checking my measurements, double checking that everything was correct. I just assumed I had it right because I assumed I don't make mistakes, which is false. And we'll call this the moment of truth. See how everything comes in together. Yeah, like I said, I fixed the sides. Everything is now the correct width. And there we have it. We have the bed in the cabinet. So what we'll do is we will actually put this together. Put this goes in there. This goes in there. And I'll just need to get my washer snap ring pliers. And we'll get that going. Here we go. Moment of truth. It looks like everything fits. And let's go. Let me wait. Oh. All right. So mistake number. I've lost count at this point of what mistake number this is. I put the frame in the cabinet backwards. I think. Yeah. Those should be at the front. Those should be at the back. I'll have to look at the directions. Something is catching. We'll figure this out. And here we go. Moment of truth. Oh, holy smokes. I think it's going to work. I think we have it. And there it is. We'll work on the actual cabinet part of it. But a genuine, bona fide genuine, bona fide Murphy bed. Holy cow, it worked.